And look, I don't know what's real and what isn't anymore. You know, if you ask questions, you're this, you get labeled. I don't know.
I know.
It's a wacky time, and no one's happy.
That's why I'm off social media. It's just not good for you.
But you seem to know a ton of stuff. So I'm like, how are you off social media, but also knowledgeable?
Google News feed and then things that inform people send me. I rely on people sending me things now, which is way better.
But I'm sure you got some psychos who are up your ass.
Who believe everything I say?
Yeah, because you're so big. You got such a big umbrella.
Yeah, but I'm very clear that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, you're one of the few guys who will go, you know what I said last week? I was wrong about that.
You have to.
Nobody does that.
That lady's smiling. If she claims victim, I call her shit. She looks like she's having a good time. Also,
Mark Norman was on the Joe Rogan Experience to promote his new Netflix special. But for some reason, it turned out to be one of the show's most annoyingly uneven episodes in a long time. The fact that Mark hasn't had a one-on-one meeting with Joe Rogan in almost 6 years is quite surprising when you consider it. Most viewers are used to seeing him on Protect Our Parks with Shane Gillis and the rest of the gang. But while Ari Schaffer is out doing his own thing overseas, such episodes have virtually vanished for nearly a year. Furthermore, when Mark and Joe are by themselves, the atmosphere is entirely different. Mark's flawless timing and clever gags have not deteriorated. But this time, there was far too much agreement, much too much nodding along, and far too much playing it safe. It didn't seem like Mark was being himself. He seemed to be holding back and not wanting to cross any lines, which made the entire discussion feel a little stiff. It's annoying because over the past few years, Mark has actually become rather likable. Moreover, this is not the first time an incident of this kind has occurred. He performed similarly in Club Shay Shay, where the one-on-one approach didn't really benefit him either. He's at his finest when he's bouncing off other comedians who share his excitement and keep things lively. He seems to conform, nevertheless, when he is in a setting where there is a clear power dynamic. I still think highly of Mark, so please know that, alongside Dan Soder and Shane Gillis, he is without a doubt one of the greatest comic podcasters working today. But this specific episode, yes, that was challenging to watch. In addition, Rogan seems to be going a completely different path lately, and not necessarily in a good way. Sometimes his views have gotten so extreme that they are hard to listen to, especially when the conversation strays into controversial topics like Jeffrey Epstein, which is when things really start to go off course.
It also shows how sad and sheep-like people are, because we're like, we need something. I need something to believe in, something to go for. I'll support you.
Well,
I'm
everybody's
alone.
so lost that anybody who comes along that confidently claims they have the answer, people just follow.
Yep.
Very
Every
odd.
time.
Very odd.
But I'm sure you got some psychos who are up your ass.
Who believe everything I say?
Yeah, because you're so big. You got such a big umbrella.
Yeah, but I'm very clear that I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's the key.
And if I do, it's like very specific things. So I'm like, I can tell you for sure that this is a fact.
Right.
You know, because, I'm an expert in a few things.
Well, you're one of the few guys who will go, you know what I said last week? I was wrong about that.
You have to.
Nobody does that.
You got it. Well, because they all just want to be right all the time.
Yes.
And they all connect their identity with being correct about it, whether it's COVID or
right.
Like COVID ruined a lot of people's credibility.
There were moments in this episode that were so dramatic that you had to pause and consider whether you were hearing things correctly. Furthermore, rather than just one questionable viewpoint here and there were several contradictions that made it challenging to follow the conversation. They talk about how everything feels so split these days, how there is so much information available, and how people struggle to decide what is true before going into that. Ironically, Rogan ended up describing his own situation without even understanding it. The issue is that he often presents himself as being well-versed in a wide range of topics. He is an expert in stand-up comedy, MMA, science, and health. On closer examination, though, that level of confidence doesn't always match reality. Even more shocking is the widespread belief that he is one of the few well-known people who freely admits his errors.
On boys in particular, there's an adverse risk associated with the vaccine. It's like a 2 to 4-fold increase in the instances of myocarditis.
Yes, but you know what?
Hospitalization.
You know that there's an increased risk of myocarditis among that age cohort from getting COVID as well, which exceeds the risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
I don't think that's true.
No, there is. There's both.
Well, let's look that up because I don't think that's true. 12 to 17 more likely to develop myocarditis within 3 months of catching COVID at a rate of 450 cases per million infection. This compares to 67 cases of myocarditis per million of the same time following their second dose of Pfizer.
Yeah, so you're about 8 times likelier to get myocarditis from getting COVID than from getting the vaccine.
That's interesting.
Now, that
is not what I've read before, but also it's like, even when we're reading these things, it's like, what are we getting this from? Was this from the VAERS?
That story doesn't really hold up when you look at it closely. As seasoned fans know, those moments are few. And when they do happen, it's usually because someone asks him a straight question. When something challenges his preconceptions, he typically responds immediately by questioning the material, raising doubts about the source, or shifting the subject. It is a trend that keeps happening. In a previous show that got little attention, Rogan was fact-checking real time during a discussion about myocarditis. The same accusations persisted even when he was provided with accurate information. To be fair, this is not intended to suggest that he is totally wrong. He has undoubtedly raised significant issues in the past. On other topics, though, he continues to present the same arguments as if nothing had changed despite the facts being made obvious. At that point, it starts to feel less like an open discussion and more like a firm perspective.
It doesn't demand vaccines.
Yeah,
for kids.
that's dangerous to me.
Yeah. I knew you'd jump on that train.
Of course it's dangerous, Brian. What are you talking about?
Tetanus,
vaccines.
tetanus.
No.
Just go down the road wrong?
You need to bail on the tetanus thing because
What do you
Suzanne Humphries.
Educate his ass.
Suzanne Humphries explained tetanus.
She's not a
She's like,
vaccinologist. I know that woman.
all you have to do is keep the wound open and clean it.
Oh, that's
you
such
don't.
bullshit.
It's not
Oh my
bullshit.
God,
It's
what
not bullshit.
bullshit.
Do you know how many people die of tetanus
Holy
every year? Very
shit.
few.
What about
Just
Okay,
stop.
so let me ask you a question, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Scientist. Are you saying that we shouldn't
Don't
have...
do that. Don't call me Mr. Scientist. I'll start mocking you, and it's so much easier to mock you.
So are we not... So you don't believe in vaccines? You don't think we should have vaccines?
It's not that I don't believe in vaccines.
So what are you saying?
It's I
shouldn't
don't
have
think you
74.
should give a kid a Hep B vaccine when they're a baby.
Excuse me. Let me just say something. Yes, you're right. You can make the argument for Hep B. Here's why. Because the chances of a child coming in contact with the kind of activity that causes Hep B is different. What I'm trying to say to you is that there are certain diseases. Pick up a history book. Smallpox, diphtheria, mumps.
Polio, please
Yes.
stop.
No, I won't. I won't.
No,
I know
Brian,
you think it's
Brian,
just...
Brian,
I've read,
Brian,
I've heard
Brian,
Susan
Brian.
Humphries.
This is a long conversation that we're not going to have on this podcast
Right.
because I'm going to get angry because I've researched this for years.
Right.
Let's just
But
not.
you're not a scientist.
I don't have to be a scientist
Yeah, you
to
do.
know that.
Yes, you do.
No, Brian, shut the up. I don't have to be a scientist to read research to understand that they were spraying DDT all over the country when everybody was getting polio. Do you know that?
Let me make a statement.
They were calling it paralytic polio.
Do you agree with the following statement? It's not just...
I'm not going to do this with you,
but
Brian.
it's not just about...
I brought up
It's not
vaccines,
just
so that'd
about...
be a
Hold
fun
on,
debate.
Joe.
No,
it's
Brian,
not
I don't want to
ju-
do this with
But
you.
it's
I
not
don't
just
wanna do this.
about...
We're in
is
the
it-
middle of a fight companion.
All right.
It's annoying.
All right, but it's like... I don't get it.
It starts to feel less like an open exchange of ideas and more like a strict allegiance to a particular viewpoint. The entire show makes this clear. The response is, that's not what I've seen before, rather than engaging with the data, which is retrieved and presented in an understandable manner. The focus abruptly shifts from the information itself to questioning its source. A few minutes ago, Mark was praising him and saying that he is one of the few people who freely admits his mistakes. It appears as though two completely different realities are happening at the same time, making the difference seem surreal. Because there is an image of someone who is curious and open to new ideas on the one hand, and someone who seems to be solid in their opinions and rarely strays from them on the other. It begs the issue of which version people are actually seeing. This is why some people bring up the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is the idea that confidence can sometimes prevail over true comprehension. The interesting thing is that a person's conviction grows as their degree of confidence does. When you listen to that kind of assurance for hours on end, it starts to appear like they must be knowledgeable. In the past, this was even directly disputed with Brian Callen, when he questioned the idea that someone can fully assess complicated scientific publications just by reading them. The tone instantly shifted. A lighthearted discussion became heated, illustrating how fast things can change when there is sincere resistance. The chat then comes to an end, and the relaxed mood turns defensive. On the other side, when everyone agrees, everything proceeds without a hitch. This is exactly what happens to Mark, which makes the whole situation more significant. They are discussing how people behave in remarkably similar ways in real time, while disregarding facts to back up their claims. Then, Without even realizing it, Mark provides an example that unintentionally refutes their own claim. At that point, it's obvious rather than subtle, but the conversation carries on as if nothing had happened. Not just one scene, but the way it keeps happening is what makes this episode difficult to watch. Eventually, they start talking about the widely circulated videos from college campuses where students react violently to a comment they think is from Donald Trump, only to find out that it was actually said by Joe Biden, which causes their feelings to drastically shift.
Is this the video you're talking about?
Let me see what this one says.
The same stable genius that said the biggest problem we had in the Revolutionary War is we didn't have enough airports. Whoa.
Yeah, that's it.
Whoa.
What?
Just for the record.
Is that fake?
It's not fake, but he was referencing Trump saying that. Here's what Trump saying it in 2019.
Oh.
Donald Trump said something about that. And he didn't say Jesus. He said a stable genius, and that's where the transcription.
Let me hear what it says. What did he say?
The Continental Congress created a unified army out of the revolutionary forces encamped around Boston and New York. Our army manned the airports. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he fucked up.
Yeah, he did. But I feel like
Took over
that's
the airport.
you can tell too. It sounds like a little different. He's like, you can tell he like messed up his words, but
Yeah.
he was just, I don't know.
Took over the airports.
Well, that's
It
the
is
thing
funny.
about
But it's-
media these days. It's like
Right.
you
never
got to
know.
look into it.
Joe and Mark laugh it off and refer to it as brainwashing. It's kind of funny at first. That cannot be disputed. But at this point, things start to get nasty. Mark doesn't appear to be aware that Joe had done the exact same thing, almost word for word, in the past. This explains why this moment looks so contradictory. They move from making fun of others for blindly following narratives and falling into obvious traps to doing something fairly similar themselves and writing it off as insignificant. Suddenly it turns into, oh, he just mixed up his words. Additionally, when Jamie plays the real footage that confirms it was Trump who said it, the tone instantly shifts. The backtracking starts right away. The tone softens, and everything is written off and turned into jokes. But in the end, they prove the exact point they were trying to make, just in the opposite way. It sticks out since there isn't a single mistake, and it seems like an actual instance of accuracy and overconfidence colliding. Anyone who has kept a close eye on Joe would attest to the numerous occasions in which he is engaged in the same behavior that he criticizes others for. As a result, when Mark describes him as having a very impartial, truth-seeking, and balanced voice, it doesn't quite land that way. Eventually, it appears a unique perspective has been chosen, and whether or not it is acknowledged, it now shapes the majority of discussions.
Supported a lot of people too.
Oh, yeah. Not
Big
as much as
supporter.
Biden. Oh, excuse me, not as much as Obama.
Well, yeah, he was the king of that.
Not only did Obama deport more people than Trump, they arrested more Americans accidentally
Really?
than Trump. Yeah, the percentage of Americans arrested was higher, and also the deaths were higher.
But nobody got shot in the street.
What do you mean?
Like his ICE didn't shoot anybody that I know of.
No, they did.
Oh,
They did
come on.
kill people. Yeah, they killed people.
Civilians?
I don't know if it was civilians or if it was actual illegals that they were trying to deport, but there was definitely a bunch of people that were killed. I want to say it was somewhere in the range of 30.
30?
Yeah. So what does it say here? No documented cases of ICE agents directly killing anyone,
There you go.
such as through shootings or excessive force during Obama's presidency. However, 56 individuals died in ICE custody. Okay, so that's how they died. So it wasn't shootings, primarily from medical issues, like they had lead poisoning from bullets.
What?
Inadequate care, or whoops, he hung himself in a 2-foot cell. Most custody deaths under Obama were attributed to natural causes, heart disease. Well, you're dealing with a lot of people that snuck in, not suicides, hanging, or violence by agents.
However, the data paint a completely different image. Rogan routinely presents claims and information that, although seeming credible at the time, don't necessarily hold up when you take the time to verify them. Most of the time, they pass with no resistance, since no one wants to interrupt the flow of the conversation. An important change is that real-time fixes are now happening because of an AI sponsor. After years of discussion about the potential risks and disruptions of AI, It only required financing to implement instant fact-checking. Meanwhile, there are countless older instances, like the myocarditis case mentioned above, where misleading information spread far more widely than any later revisions could. The initial statements garnered a lot of attention, but the revisions rarely reached anyone. Even when Jamie steps in to clarify something during an episode, things are rarely just accepted and left at that. Instead, it is often minimized, redirected, or mockingly rejected. Even when the pertinent information is easily accessible, everything tends to follow the same pattern. Clinging to a point. The most unpleasant part of this episode, though, is how the topic shifts when Jeffrey Epstein is brought up. There's been a discernible shift in tone. Instead of going deeper or asking more direct questions, as he does with other subjects, things suddenly become confusing and vague. Statements like, "We don't have all the details," or "It's complicated," appear inappropriate. Despite the fact that this is one of the most widely documented cases of human trafficking in recent memory, the tactics employed appear to be somewhat constrained.
He dies.
Hey, I did nothing. I was only there for humanitarian purposes.
We got photos and everything.
I was just getting massages and hugging nice people.
Exactly.
Nothing untoward was done to me or anyone else that was there, as far as I know.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
I didn't see that side of Jeffrey Epstein.
You got to bring this back. Look at this guy. We got photo evidence.
That lady's smiling. If she claims victim, I call her shit. She looks like she's having a good time. Also, that's a woman. You know, it's
That's
like
true.
Once you're a woman, okay, you know, unless someone's holding a gun to your head, if we're talking about children, we're talking about a different thing. But there's a lot of these ladies that were grown women when they were doing this, and the emails that were exchanged between Epstein and these women, like, they were well aware of what's going on. Look, the real criticism, the real legitimate criticism is were there underage girls involved? Now, clearly they were in Epstein's past. He went to jail for it. The whole Palm Beach thing with the underage masseuses. But some of these are just ladies who did bad things. They made bad decisions, and they probably wound up on that island for money.
Furthermore, this issue is oddly treated with far less seriousness than any other popular college video. Some of the reasoning is utterly absurd, such as assuming that someone cannot be a victim simply because of how they look or how they show themselves. That's not how it works, especially from someone who has talked about being a protective father in public. The difference is remarkable. Certain circumstances raise serious concerns one moment, while something far more significant is downplayed the next. Once you notice this trend, it's difficult to ignore it. Every time the subject of strong people, big sums of money, or considerable influence is brought up, the energy wanes, the confidence falters, and the certainty disappears. But when you shift the focus to something more manageable and simpler critique, all of a sudden it's full breakdown mode. Full confidence, full analysis. The stark contrast in this episode makes it very irritating to watch. Only last week, when Michael Schellenberger tried to moderate the Epstein discourse, it seemed like Joe was starting to give in for a short moment. It appeared to be progress, but it doesn't seem to have happened. This disparity appears in episode after episode and has become a recurrent theme. He will spend hours carefully analyzing cancel culture, social media, and other significant topics. But when it comes to something as significant as this, he dismisses it in a way that is unacceptable considering the seriousness of the matter. At that moment, he realizes that whenever he criticizes people, the mirror usually reflects back to him. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment below if you've read this far. In the next one, I'll see you.
Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.